Hi, this is Candace Latshaw, owner of the Etsy shop Roslyn Rumpers, for the YouTube channel Mom's A Wonderful Life, run by my sister Allison. So today we're going to lanolize one of my wool soakers that I made using eucalyptus and lanolin, as well as a basin that was actually given to me from the hospital when my daughter was born. So to start off, I like to turn my wool inside out. I do this to ensure that none of the lanolin residue gets on the front of my cover. So we're just going to turn this inside out. Okay, so to start, this process is very simple. You are just going to use, I would say, about a squirt or two of the eucalyptus. You really don't need that much, so one bottle lasts for a very long time. You also will use a pea-size amount of lanolin, so just a small amount. And what we're going to do, we're going to take the basin over to the sink. We are going to run very hot water because we want to make sure that the lanolin is going to melt into the water. Otherwise, it's going to be clumpy and you're not going to get an even covering on your soaker. So I just make sure that the water is steaming. Give it a few minutes here. Okay, seems pretty good. So I'm just going to mix the water. And again, I use just a tiny bit of hot water because with wool, you don't want to shock the wool. So once I make sure that my lanolin is dissolved in the water and there aren't any clumps, I am just going to fill it the rest of the way with lukewarm, cooler water to balance it out, because ultimately you want the water to be, I would say, lukewarm for this process. Okay, so everything looks to be dissolved. I'm going to fill it up the rest of the way using lukewarm water. You'll notice that my water does have some soap suds in it. You do not need to rinse your wool soaker after you let it soak for about 30 minutes. The suds are going to gradually dissolve, and like I said, no rinsing is required for this. So, we filled up the water, so now we're going to go back and take my wool soaker, and I'm just going to press it down into the water, and I like to turn it over to make sure that it has a good covering, because lanolin tends to rise to the top of your water, so you want to make sure you're getting an even coating, because that's what waterproofs the wool. So wool is very absorbent, but you want to make sure it's lanolized well in order to protect your bed sheets, because what's going to happen is in the morning your wool should be soaked overnight, but your bed sheet should still be dry. And I have been diapering my daughter with wool since she was born. She's now 1.5, and we have never had wet sheets wearing wool, which is pretty amazing. Okay, so it is soaking now. You want to make sure everything stays underwater. I usually try to flip it over after a period of time, but you're going to let it soak for 30 minutes. You can let it soak longer, but I recommend at least 30 minutes, and then we will go. So at this point, my wool has been soaking in water for about 30 minutes. I'm going to take the next step and take my wool and squeeze the excess water out like I'm squeezing a stress ball. Ideally, this is done with 2 hands. You want to make sure that you don't twist the fabric. You don't want to stretch it out at all. And once you feel like the wool is, you've pretty much squeezed out most of the water, I have 2 bath towels that I've set on the floor. These are actually my designated wool bath towels because I just always keep them aside for this purpose. I'm going to place my soaker at the bottom of the bath towel. I'm going to take the second bath towel and I'm going to roll it. And as I roll, I'm going to squeeze any excess water that was in my wool. And you can repeat this process if you need to, depending on the thickness of the wool. I do generally find that once is enough. So once you've squeezed and you've rolled the soaker, it should feel fairly dry at this point because the towel has soaked up most of the moisture. You want to find a flat drying rack. In this case, I use a cookie drying rack because I need to get creative in my house, and this is what I had. So I'm going to set the soaker on top. You want to make sure the room is well ventilated, out of direct sunlight. It generally takes about 2 days to completely dry. I do periodically turn the fabric. I will also turn it right side out to make sure it's completely dry before putting it on my child. I find that you really only need to wash wool a minimum of once a month. It's smart to do an odor check though and wash it sooner if you have to, but what's really awesome about wool is it's very easy to maintain. It's very breathable. You'll find that even if your child's fitted or pre-fold is soaked in the morning, your child's skin won't feel saturated, which is awesome. It's also extremely soft. And of course, they're extremely cute. So I hope you found this video informative. I hope you'll come back and visit more videos on Mom's A Wonderful Life. And I hope you'll also check out my Etsy shop, Roslyn Rumpers. And thank you so much for watching.